Let's get into some more subjective criteria for microphone selection, and what I'm referring to is what kind of tone do you want out of your microphone. A couple of descriptors we're going to be discussing today are neutral, dark, bright, and warm. There are dozens of other descriptors we could use, but I'm trying to keep it somewhat succinct, so that's what we're going to be using to describe different microphone tones. Before we go any farther, if you're unfamiliar with the terms low frequencies, mid frequencies, or high frequencies, I want to include a quick demo so you can understand that. What you're hearing right now is white noise. This covers every single frequency from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. So that all you're hearing are the high frequencies. Now all you're hearing are the low frequencies. And now all you're hearing are the mid frequencies. In order to help you understand these frequencies even better, sweep from 20 hertz all the way up to 20 kilohertz while I am talking so you can hear how these frequencies correspond to spoken word. Hopefully this is helping you get the picture of what frequencies lie where. Now let's quickly learn how to read a frequency response graph, which is a graph that gives us a general idea of what a microphone is going to sound like, but quick disclaimer, it does not tell the whole story. You always need to hear a microphone first. Let's get to learning. On the y-axis, we have decibels, and on the x-axis, we have frequencies. On this graph, you have this squiggly line, and I know it may be a bit confusing, but this is what's going to give us a general understanding of the sound of a microphone that we're looking at. The left-hand side of the graph is going to represent the lower frequencies, and as we move further to the right, the frequencies we're looking at are getting higher and higher. Here's a sine sweep from 20 hertz all the way up to 20 kilohertz, and I'll throw a graph up on screen so you can see how these frequencies correlate to what you're hearing. Now let's look at the 0 decibel line on the y-axis. When this squiggly line is sitting on that 0 decibel line, that means the frequency is not being boosted or being cut. When the squiggly line is below this, that means the frequency is being cut, and that frequency is going to sound quieter. But when the squiggly line is above this, as it is above about 2 kilohertz on this graph, that means those frequencies are going to be boosted and sound a bit louder, and in this instance, this mic is going to be brighter. I should also note that as the squiggly line gets further away from that 0 dB line, that means the boost or the cut is going to be more exaggerated, and that frequency is going to sound louder or quieter. First up, we have a neutral sounding microphone. What this means is it provides a fairly accurate representation of the sound that's in front of it. It's not boosting too much or cutting too much in the low frequencies, the mid frequencies, or the high frequencies. It just gives you a nice, balanced, and even sound. For this example, I am using the SE Electronics SE4400A. It is not ruler flat. There is a little bit of boost in the higher frequencies, but compared to a lot of other microphones, this is relatively neutral. Next, we have a darker sounding microphone, and what this means is it rolls off some of those higher frequencies, so it's not going to come across as bright, as detailed, as exciting, as lively. For this example, I'm using the SM7B, which is a classic, darker sounding microphone. For harsher voices like mine, I love this, but I know a lot of people dislike this sound because they think that it sounds muffled and a bit too low detail. The next descriptor is bright. The way that I classify a bright microphone is a microphone that boosts those higher frequencies quite a lot. It makes it sound really exciting, really lively, really detailed. For this example, I am using the Lewitt LCT440, which I think offers a very bright sound to it, but it sounds great at the same time if that's the sound you're looking for. And lastly, we have warm microphones. The way that I classify this is the lower frequencies are going to be more exaggerated. It may also exhibit a bit of a roll-off in the higher frequencies. A lot of ribbon microphones are going to fall into the category of being warmer. They sound a bit more vintage, a bit more old-fashioned. What I'm using for this example is the AEA KU5A, which is a ribbon microphone. This is a great example of what a warmer, more vintage-sounding microphone can offer. So then we get to the question of which tone is right for you or which tone is best. This really comes down to personal preference. Which tone do you like the best? But it can also be a little bit of utility. If you know you have a lot of mouth noises, a bright microphone is going to accentuate that, so maybe steer clear of that. Do you have more of a sibilant voice where your S's whistle a bit? Then maybe a darker sounding microphone would be the right option because that can help tame it. Or do you have a super deep and bassy and manly voice without a lot of higher frequencies? Then perhaps a warmer microphone wouldn't be the best fit because it could make you sound a little bit too muddy. I think the best way to identify which tone you prefer and which tone would fit your voice the best is by listening to a lot of samples from different people on different microphones, especially if the person you're listening to has a similar voice to you. That's going to help you hone what your preferences are and identify what tone you like, as well as what kind of tone is going to fit with your type of voice. Unfortunately, this is at best guesstimating how a mic is going to work. You're never truly going to know until you get in front of the mic, record with it, and then listen back. So it is a little bit of a guessing game, but you can go in and be a little bit more informed. We're coming up on the end of this module, and in the next video, we're going to be covering other microphone specs that you should pay attention to, and that video is linked directly beneath me as well as in the description.